Okay, now I want to talk about the bridge assembly. Now here I've taken the set screws out of the bridge. When you get the bridge, all the set screws will be in, and you'll actually have a piece of tape, electrical tape, wrapped around the center point with another piece of tape on top of that. The piece of tape on top will tell you which size drum this bridge is meant for. Each one of these bridges is cut to size for each one of your individual drums, which is why we did all of our measurements earlier. Now you'll notice the blue dots. Now Pintec supplies the blue dots, one set on here, plus they send you a whole row of extra blue dots, and what we've done is we've added another set to there just for that, and that's why they send those extra pieces, so you can do the same thing. You can add another set. And what this does is there's a little rubber piece that's got double-sided tape on both sides that when you sandwich these two together, what ends up happening is it provides a small cushion between the two pieces of metal, just ensuring that there's no rattling. Once you tighten all four of your set screws back, there shouldn't be any rattling anyway. But what we've gone ahead and done is added two of those extra pieces, and Pintec does a much neater job than what I've done here with these half circles. But you can see what we've done, and we'll remove that later on down the road. Also, what I want to talk about with the bridge is, because of this is an older drum set, the lug screws are a little bit thicker than what you're going to see in today's product. Okay, so what we've had to do is we've had to file this groove where these set screws go into, and that's how they sit on our drum. These screws were a bit thicker than what the standard screw is. So what we did is we just had to file this down a little bit, and making sure that we took off equal amount of metal on both sides of the groove. So we just stuck a file in there and put it flat on the table to make sure that we've got enough, that we've got a nice solid surface to work on, and then file down. It took me 5 minutes to do both sides, or both sides of the bridge, to make it big enough for this. Now you don't want to go farther than what you need to actually fit that set screw in there, and then to be able to move it back and forth nice and freely. You don't want to take out too much of that metal, so I just filed out just enough to make that move freely so we can do our measurements. So while we're there, we'll go ahead and set this half of the bridge in place. As soon as I get my screwdriver on my spot here. There we go. Okay. Now I'm not going to tighten. I'm just going to set those in place. Make sure they're held. We're going to do this other side here. Do the same thing over here. Just kind of snugging those up just a little bit, just to kind of make sure that they hold so they don't fall while we're trying to do our measurements. That should do it. Now the rule of thumb is to measure, should be 2 inches from the top, from the top of the bridge to the shell of your drum. This ensuring that when this piece goes on here, you're going to be 1/8 of an inch. This is going to stick up above the head 1/8 of an inch, and you're going to use I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before, but you're going to want to make sure that you're using this gray side. I can't stress that part enough. You're going to notice that this side is a lot softer than this part of the foam pad. This side is a little bit more it's a more compressed piece of foam where this is a little bit spongier, giving your head some play, and seeing that a good portion of this is going to actually be sticking up and your head's actually going to be pushing down on top of this. The soft play is crucial. Okay, but we'll get to that. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure, just making sure where we want. Now I've done 5 of these drums already, so I know that at my highest point in this part here, I'm up as far as I can go, and that's exactly the 2-inch spot that I want to be at. I'm still leaving this one loose so I can do my final measurements. Now, we're going to place this piece in there, and it'll line up once we get everything in there. But the first thing we want to do, anytime that we're using the sticky tape, except for, of course, on any of the triggers or anything, but anytime we're sticking the sticky to the either side of the drum for your rim trigger or the top of your bridge, we're going to want to clean the metal. And what we're using is just a paper towel and a dab of rubbing alcohol, or isopropyl alcohol. Probably not going to make the same mess with it that I am. And I'm going to do the back side where this tape is going to stick. And I'm going to do the front side for right now. We're going to end up doing this top side one more time anyway before we stick the trigger to it. But I just want to clean it up and get it ready to actually stick to the piece. Keep your towel handy. And now you want to peel the blue side off your sticky. And just get it ready to actually stick your bridge center piece, excuse me, to both ends of the bridge. Now again, you're going to notice that this sticky has a good sized depth to it, not real thick, but thick enough to where it's going to cut down on any vibrations. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bridge in place just without sticking it, because I want to make sure that this part of the bridge, in between, you can see I've stuck this before, in between these two here, this is where we're going to end up putting our head trigger. Our head piezo is going to sit right in here. So what I like to do is I like to make sure that this is the center of the drum. You don't want to go off to the left or right. You want a nice center. Now you can do it any way you'd like. You can measure. You can use your tape measure to measure out either side. Or what I'm doing is I'm using my nice straight line that I'm going to actually end up using later on down the road as well. You're going to want a yardstick, or what I have here is a piece of thin metal that will go across the drum, that you're gonna use it for this purpose, as well as gauging the height of your actual piece of foam. Now again, I've already done 5 of the drums, so I know where I'm at. You can also set it over here and just kind of see where it's going to sit. Once you've got everything lined up, I'm not tight yet, so none of the measurements are actually going to work. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to put my line across and just kind of eyeball where that center piece is, so I know that piezo is going to be the center of that bridge. And then you stick your bridge down, okay, which will hold it in place while you work on it a little bit. But what we're going to do is we're going to end up putting our set screws back in, because we're ready for that now. and I recommend using all 4 of the set screws, where you can, of course. And you want to keep the set screws obviously away from where the piezo is going to be mounted. You don't want to ground the metal of your piezo on anything, on the side, anything that's metal touching that brass piece there, that gold color piece. You don't want that touching metal, including the screws, and that is important on your metal snare. If you're using a chrome snare, you want to make sure that that's not sitting on any metal. You want to make sure that that's sitting still, and we'll talk more about that here in a minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put all my set screws in, and I'll go ahead and turn the cameras off, so you're not bored to death while I do that.